So if you were looking for some good old-fashioned hard rock to power your weekend soundtrack, we've got some good news for you. I'm Matt Wardlaw. The Scorpions, I'm not in the Scorpions, by the way, they are getting ready to drop their new album, Rock Believer, in February of 2022, 50 years after releasing their first album, Lonesome Crow, in January of 1972. UCR's Bryan Rolli is here with me. And Bryan, the fans can listen to Peacemaker, the first single from the record, right now on the UCR website. And you and I have heard a few other tunes. I'd love to hear your thoughts because to me, this does not sound like a band that has been making albums for 50 years.
No. Well, let me say, first of all, Matt, I was under the impression that I was going to be chatting with a member of the Scorpions today. So imagine my surprise when you popped up on the screen. I feel like I've been swindled. But nevertheless, since I'm here now, yeah, I agree with you. I'm really excited by the material that I've heard from the album so far. This is not like a warm, fuzzy nostalgia record. This isn't just like, you know, a band that's coasting on their legacy. These are really good, urgent songs that show the breadth of their songwriting skills. I think the Peacemaker single is just an excellent, you know, no frills, hard rock song. Clocks in at under 3 minutes, which is a rarity these days for a single. But they expand their sound on other tracks. They really sprawl out and yeah, really adventurous, playful, great musicianship as always, and I think it speaks well for the rest of the album.
Yeah, you're someone that you craft songs, so that was what was impressive to me. Was Peacemaker, like, it doesn't feel short, but by the Scorpion standards, like, it's short, but they get it done in approximately 2 minutes and 58 seconds. It's really impressive. Like, they just turned out like a good, quick, down and dirty rock tune.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a sucker for a song that opens with kind of like a stomping, like half-speed riff, and then goes into full speed in the verses, back into that half-speed thing in the chorus and refrains. It's for me, it's kind of like the opposite of what you might typically do in a rock song, and so I dig that. I'm a sucker for it.
What else do you dig from like the other songs that we have heard from this Rock Believer album so far?
You and I are both big fans of Seventh Son, but really enjoy that tune. A little more epic in scope. There's a passage in the middle where there's just one guitar laying down a solo over like a drum and bass groove, and it honestly gives me almost some like Black Sabbath Heaven and Hell vibes in that. I really love the space that those guys create on that song. And then, I mean, when the whole band kicks back in full and the vocals are back, it's just really epic, soaring sort of song. So, you know, I think it's great. Really shows two different sides of what the Scorpions can still do.
So the other thing we've got going on at UCR is you just had your interview drop this week with John 5. And John 5, as I think you put it on Twitter, has played on approximately 8 zillion records by classic rock artists that we cover. So tell me a little bit, like, how was that chat? Like, he seems like he would have been fascinating to talk to.
Okay, so pretty much every name, because I had done, you know, my research beforehand and had compiled a list of people he had played with, and some of them were more well-known. There was, like, you know, the guys in Kiss, he's played with almost all of them solo. He's done stuff with Steve Perry and Sebastian Bach and the members of Motley Crue and stuff. So those ones were pretty well documented, but there were some earlier recording sessions and collaborations he did in his career that I just wanted to get some clarity on. So some of them were like John Wetton from Asia, Lita Ford, he toured with her for a bit in the 90s, Robin Zander from Cheap Trick, he did, I think it's probably just some demos that never saw the light of day, but anytime I would just say a name of one of those artists, I think John's immediate response was, "Oh my God," and then just like some really joyful recollection of playing with them. So here's a guy who, like, he's been doing this for over 30 years now, and I think he loves it every bit as much as his first paid session or even the first time he picked up a guitar. I mean, he was just so happy and excited to reflect on all of those sessions, and had a pretty good memory of them too, for some of them taking place in the early 90s.
John 5 is turning into a guy that for me is very much like Steve Lukather of Toto, where it's like there were a couple things that you threw out to John that, like, you mentioned Robin Zander from Cheap Trick, but the other one is Night Ranger. Like, those were two circumstances where he was like, I don't recall the exact particulars of what I did, what the album was. Like, that's when you know that you've done a lot of sessions, when you get to that point where there's things in your discography that you're like, I was there, I did something, but I can't tell you exactly what I did.
Yeah, the Night Ranger one was funny because, I mean, on his Wikipedia page, he's credited as a ghost player, and so I asked him that way. I'm like, were you a ghost player on a Night Ranger album? And he's like, yeah, I don't remember what happened. It was sometime in the '90s, and I don't know, maybe they needed to like thicken the rhythm guitars. I don't know. I'll have to text Brad and see if he remembers. And I'm like, oh yeah, sure. Just whip out your phone and text Brad, no problem. Actually, when I asked him about the Robin Zander session, he said that was my second professional session ever after John Wetton. The same producer got me that gig, and he's like, I had only had one session under my belt before that, but after Robin Zander, I walked out of there thinking I was like Steve Lukather, because now I had 2 sessions under my belt.
That's fantastic. So I guess wrapping up, what do you have coming up at UCR here in the next, few days, next week or so that you're excited about?
Well, we've got some more material from that John 5 chat that will be coming out. He's got some really great stories about the times he met some of his other heroes, including but not limited to the one and only Prince. I think it's a pretty interesting story he's got there. I won't reveal too much. I'll let the readers figure it out maybe this weekend or early next week. And recently had a great chat with Tracy Guns about the new LA Guns record that's coming out next Friday.
Nice.
Talked about a bunch of other stuff too, including the album he did with Michael Sweet earlier this year under the name Sunbomb. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
So one of the other things that you have going on is, like, we're currently beginning what I think our editor, Matthew Wilkening, has termed, we're starting to dig into the Led Zeppelin 4 record, which turns 50 this year. And, like, how much fun have you been having digging into those songs?
It's been awesome. I've listened to those every Zeppelin record, but especially the first 4 so many times in my life that it's like it's easy to take them for granted at this point, or just remember the hits, so to speak. So I was writing about 4 Sticks and the Battle of Evermore this week. 2 tracks that I'll admit I haven't listened to a ton lately. So to go back and listen to those, especially 4 Sticks, and to listen to the version that they did, that Page and Plant did in with the Bombay Symphony Orchestra in '72, that finally came to light with the Coda reissue a few years ago. That was amazing. I felt like I learned so much more about like Page and Plant's creative process, like just how ambitious they were in those first few years as a band together. So it's been really exciting to dig back into Zeppelin 4. There's always new treasures on that album.
That's Bryan Rolli right there. I am Matt Wardlaw. That's going to wrap things up for the moment here from the Ultimate Classic Rock News Deck. Thanks, everybody.